This one juvenile warty frogfish, which she named Domino, is a big achievement.
This could help us with raising other species in the future. With changing oceans, climate change, being able to raise these species in captivity is becoming increasingly important.
The Shedd Aquarium isn't unique in this pursuit. Nicole Rohde helps manage aquaculture research at Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota. She applauds the Chicago team's accomplishment.
You know, it's something to celebrate because it's really not easy to do, because you're essentially trying to take, what happens in nature and be able to recreate that.
Rohde's impressed by how quickly they succeeded, based on her work trying to rear the common snook, a big deal sport fishing species.
And man, I probably spent 15 years of my life working on that animal, trying to close the life cycle before we were able to do it.
But she says it's worth the effort for conservation purposes and to support commercial and recreational aquaculture. Back at the Shedd Aquarium, Jenny Richards stands beside Domino's tank in a spot just for staff.
He's kind of hiding, but he's in that purple plant. We're definitely a little attached to the baby.
Richard says she looks forward to the day when Domino can go on exhibit and be seen by the public, a tiny testament to what's possible. For NPR News, I'm Ari Daniel.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's 3:18. This is member-supported Cap Radio News. I'm Devin Almanaka. From the Cap Radio newsroom, Sac Republic's new home is going to get a lot bigger. The team and majority owners, Wilton Rancheria, announced today the new Rail Yard Stadium will be overhauled to seat more than 20,000 people instead of the original 12,000. They're also scrapping plans to grow through a phased expansion. The new stadium will also include an overhead canopy covering every seat and allowing for natural airflow. The new Rail Yard Stadium broke ground in August 2025. The team says with the addition of the new canopy and other upgrades, the stadium will now open in 2028. You'll find more news at capradio.org.
Even a classic can take on a new role, one that makes a lasting impact. Donate your vehicle to Cap Radio and help support the future of public media for your community. Learn more at capradio.org/cars.
We get support from Simple Traditions, Cremation and Burial. Owner Nancy Cash has been serving the community for over 30 years, focusing on natural alternatives to traditional funeral services. More information at simpletraditionsinc.com. We get support from the Calaveras Visitors Bureau. The Visitors Bureau acknowledges the community's support following recent winter storms and provides information on reopened winter recreation areas. More information is at gocalaveras.com.
On Inside, we like to take the long, curious road. Our conversations focus on quality time to understand the difficult and the uncomfortable, but we also love celebrating the people who connect us to unique local events and the arts. For 1 hour, Inside is where you get beyond headlines to the heart of issues and meet the people who make a community feel like home. I'm Vicki Gonzalez. Join us for Insight live at noon with a rebroadcast at 7 p.m.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from BritBox, dedicated to offering viewers the opportunity to see it differently with British TV. Streaming original series, Jane Austen dramas, Agatha Christie mysteries, and more at BritBox.com. And from United States Postal Service, dedicated to putting reliability at the core of USPS Ground Advantage to help businesses operate smoothly. More at USPS.com/Ground Advantage. This is NPR.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chen.
And I'm Scott Detrow, and I really love space. I love astronomy, deep space telescopes, missions to the moon, all of it. You might have picked up on this if you have heard any of our regular science segments with the team from NPR Science Podcast Shortwave. So we are trying something new today. I'm very excited about it. It is a segment that is all about space news. None of that other science here. Our Shortwave host Regina Barber and NPR Science correspondent Jeff Brumfield. Thanks so much to both of you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Excited. If they let us do this again, can we call it Spacing Out the Sky?
Yeah, I like it.
It's your show. You can call it whatever you want.
So today, Scott, we're going to be giving you a quick update on Artemis. That's the mission that's going to send humans rocketing around the moon.
Okay. And we'll be talking about data centers in space.
And the new movie, Project Killman.
Excellent. So let's start with that. I am both very excited to see it, and I don't know when I'm going to see it, because here's my plan. I want to read the book. The book has just been sitting there on the nightstand. I feel like I need to read the book first and see the movie.
No.
No?
No. Put the book down. Go see the movie. I've actually heard people that that's actually the best way to do it. Let me explain the plot like real quick.
Please do not spoil it.
I won't, I promise. So, in the near future, scientists notice that there are these alien microbes breeding on Venus, then going to eat the sun.
Eat the sun.
Yeah, like dimming it to a point that in 30 years, crops will die, animals will die, humans will die. So, world leaders send a mission to a nearby star that's not planetary, because these microbes are eating all these other stars too, not just our sun. And they want to figure out how to save the sun. So one of the astronauts is scientist turned middle school teacher Ryland Grace, and he's played by Ryan Gosling.
I put the knot in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a space. I can't even moonwalk.
And Scott, as I'm sure you already know, this movie is based on a book by Andy Weir, the same guy who wrote The Martian. And he does have a track record of writing really scientifically cool books that turn into Hollywood hits. And Gina, on that note, I have to ask, is the movie actually any good?
Well, first off, Jeff, I mean, it's a blockbuster for a reason. Like, I went in completely blind, though. I didn't read the book, Scott. I didn't even watch the trailer. I loved it. I loved the jokes. I loved the puppetry, the visuals. It was all stunning.
Wait. Did you just say puppets?
Yeah. You said no spoilers.
I know,
so that's
but
literally
I
all I'm
didn't
going to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
But Jeff was nodding at this, and I'm curious, like, how good is the science? Because The Martian, like, you got the potato growing, you got all the science happening.
Yeah, a lot was pretty accurate. Like, they did hint to special relativity, where, like, if you're traveling near the speed of light, you're going to experience time dilation. So, like, Ryan Gosling's character aged differently than people on Earth. They did take some creative licenses with, like, the fundamentals of biology, though. So, like, these alien microbes, like, they existed in space. They were, like, on the surface of the sun, and they were water-based. I don't know about that. But that didn't seem to bother astrobiologist Michael Wong from Carnegie Science. He loved the movie. He read the book, but did point out that there's one, like, accidental scientific mistake in the movie.
It's kind of fun to note that the two exoplanets in the movie were exoplanets that we thought existed.
Hello, chatter. I'm going to read your message soon.
Project Hail Mary was being written, but in just the past 2 years between the book's release and the movie, we've actually discovered that these planets may not actually exist.
Yeah, Scott, so in the grand scheme of things, it's not really a mistake. It's just that, like, science has gotten more advanced since the book was written.
All right, Jeff, second topic. Launching artificial intelligence into space. Is this a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that some folks are taking seriously, including Elon Musk. He's actually making this the central mission of SpaceX, his space launch company, which just merged actually with his AI company, XAI. Here he is on Saturday unveiling new plans for a massive new microchip factory that would make chips used for data centers in space.
I actually think that the cost of deploying AI in space will drop below the cost of terrestrial AI much sooner than most people expect. I think it may be only 2 or 3 years.
Okay, Jeff, at Shortwave, we've done, like, a bunch of stories about, like, data centers and how they use, like, a lot of water, they use a lot of electricity. Like, is this the solution? Like, just sending them up into space?
Ejecting them from the Earth.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, according to people who support this idea, it is, right?
Okay.
It comes down to really electricity. You know, there is a lot of problems around generating enough electricity for all these data centers on the ground, and if you go up into space, you know, you got the sun.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
We were just talking about it. Great source of power.
Yeah.
It's all free. It's plentiful. And the napkin math looks pretty good, right? You can get as much as you want. But I gotta say, when I started speaking to independent experts, I learned a lot of stuff.
Walk me through some of these specific skepticism then.
Right. Well, let's start by talking about the biggest sort of computery thing we have in space right now, which is the International Space Station.
Love
it's
it.
the largest facility in orbit, and its solar panels
Thank
generate
you. Oh
around
my
100
God.
kilowatts of power.
Okay.
Now, that may sound like a lot, but
This hat was made
XAI's
by my girlfriend.
Colossus computing
She's so
facility in
talented.
Memphis, Tennessee consumes around 150 megawatts. So you can do the math.
Wow. I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to. Well, that's all right. I actually got MIT aerospace professor Olivier Deweck to do the math for us.
You would have to build, just for the power in photovoltaically, a facility that's 1,000 times the size of the ISS.
That seems hard to do.
So
not
big.
easy.
There's an even bigger problem, right, on the back end. Like, it's heat, right? Like, space is cold, that's true, but, like, it's a vacuum, so there's no way to transfer, like, heat away from these computer chips, right?
Right. And so you need these massive radiators that actually use some sort of fluid to gather the heat from the chips and then conduct it out into space. And those end up being almost as big as the solar arrays.
Okay, so we start this conversation with Elon Musk saying 2 or 3 years away. Then we have an expert saying 1,000 times the size of the International
I'm gonna
Space
tell her
Station.
you said that.
What
It's gonna be
do
so
we think our
stoked.
real talk estimate is? Like, on those two extreme ends of the spectrum, is this a thing that one way or another you think happens down the line?
I think there's a way to sort of parse this, which is there will be more computing in space for sure. And it'll probably, at least for now, be smaller satellites, smaller distributed. Whether we end up with giant data centers with kilometer-long solar arrays, I think that's going to be a lot more than 2 or 3 years off. But we'll see. You know, Elon loves to give a tight deadline. We'll just have to see where we land.
One more thing I wanted to ask about, and this is something that I think is a lot closer than whatever Musk is talking about. I think so, at least, and
Yeah.
that is the Artemis 2 launch. What's going on there?
Yeah, Scott, so the U.S. is set to launch humans back to the moon, at least in orbit, right? And that's something that hasn't happened since the early 70s. And this launch window for Artemis 2, it opens in about a week from now on April 1st.
But there have been some technical problems with this mission's rocket. There was a hydrogen leak, which forced NASA to push back this launch. So at this point, Scott, anything could happen. We'll be watching.
They were going to launch it in February, then maybe March, now maybe April.
Yep.
April 1st. I got a good feeling.
April Fools.
If so, that would give us more content for sure. for
Yeah.
Spacing out with Scott or whatever.
Space is pretty vast. We got a lot of content.
We got a lot. That's perhaps infinite. That is Jeff Brumfield and Martina Barber of NPR Science Podcast Shortwave. Check it out. It's all about science, not just space, though I like it most when they do talk about space. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
I'm Scott Clear, President and CEO of Broadway Sacramento. Cap Radio tells the stories of our current world. They help us get beyond the headlines to have a deeper, more nuanced understanding. Broadway Sacramento is also committed to storytelling. What we do is all invention. Those inventions afford people access to their emotions. The power of storytelling is where it began for both of us. Broadway Sacramento is proud to partner with Cap Radio to create stronger Sacramento communities.
We get support from American Home Energy Savers, a Sacramento area home energy contractor offering home energy inspections and sales and installations. Currently booking appointments for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and repairs. More at ahescomfort.com. We get support from Chrysalis Cosmetics, a proud supporter of Capital Public Radio. Chrysalis celebrates the journey of self-discovery and transformation through plastic surgery options. There's more about what they have to offer at sacramentoplastics.com.
News from NPR is next, followed by updates from our newsroom. Still ahead on All Things Considered, Sacramento's historic Oak Park neighborhood has been without a library for almost 40 years. The grassroots movement has been trying to bring one back. Hear more coming up in 15 minutes on member-supported Cap Radio News, 90.9 Sacramento, 91.3 Stockton, Modesto. It's 3:30.
awaits.
Live from NPR News in Culver City, California, I'm Dwayne Brown. California's Attorney General is asking a judge to halt a Republican sheriff's election fraud investigation. He alleges the sheriff seized hundreds of thousands of ballots without evidence. From member station KVCR, Madison Almond has more.
Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, who's running for governor of California, seized 650,000 ballots casted in last year's election to redraw California's congressional map. Bianco says he did so because a citizens group alleged a discrepancy in the vote tally. Riverside County's registrar says the allegation is based on incomplete data. Attorney General Rob Bonta has asked a judge to stop Bianco's probe because Bianco has not shown that any crime was committed. When asked for a response, Bianco sent an email questioning why Bonta would obstruct an investigation. For NPR News, I'm Madison Ament.
Lebanon says it's expelling the Iranian ambassador in Beirut. Lebanon is only the second Arab country to take such action during the U.S. and Israeli-led war on Iran, which has killed more than 1,000 people in Lebanon and left more than 1 million displaced. NPR's Lauren Frayer has more from the Lebanese capital.
Lebanon's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it's withdrawn the Iranian ambassador's accreditation and demands he leave no later than this Sunday. Israel's foreign minister said he welcomes the move. Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants are a force in Lebanese politics, but relations between Beirut and Tehran have deteriorated. The last Israel-Hezbollah war in 2024 left thousands dead in the country with billions of dollars in damages. Now, some Lebanese blame Hezbollah for dragging them into another war, this time in Iran. At the onset, Hezbollah fired rockets into Israel in support of Iran, sparking Israel's retaliation. Israel's defense minister is threatening now to destroy more homes in southern Lebanon in a stepped-up effort to oust Hezbollah once and for all.
This is NPR.
It's 3:32 with Cap Radio News. I'm Devin Yamanaka. River rescue crews in Placer County are warning people about the hidden dangers of local waterways as unseasonably warm temperatures draw people outdoors. Battalion Chief Nick Salas manages the Placer County Fire Department's technical rescue team. He says the cold water can be a shock to those looking to cool down.
With the water temperatures, when they're as cold as they are, that can prove fatal with one slip and fall, or just, folks getting caught off guard with how cold that water is. They become hypothermic.
Ninja.
Their muscles, their body, their brain doesn't work, which ultimately leads to them drowning.
Salas said all the water coming down right now is fresh snowmelt. He also warned a seemingly calm stretch of river can quickly lead to strong currents downstream. Anyone who does enter the water should wear a life jacket, bring a friend, and check for hazards downriver.
Hit that subscribe
the Sacramento
button,
Zoo
guys.
is mourning the loss of a beloved primate. Officials say Ewell, the white-handed gibbon, died last Thursday after living in Sacramento since 1976. The zoo's veterinary team had been observing Ewell closely after the death of his daughter, Sidao, on March 4th from severe liver disease. Ewell had several age-related health conditions, including arthritis and declining vision. He was around 54 years old, which officials say is much older than the average life expectancy of around 40 years old. You'll find more news at capradio.org. Find us on Facebook by searching for Cap Radio.
Stand out with purpose. As a Cap Radio sponsor, your business connects with listeners who support companies that invest in their community. Learn more at capradio.org/sponsor.
We get support from Westervelt Ecological Services, restoring habitats for local species like the Valley Elderberry Longhorn Beetle. More information at westmitigation.com.
Still ahead on All Things Considered, artists who helped build Cesar Chavez's legacy are grappling with allegations of sexual assault against the late labor leader. Hear more coming up in 15 minutes on member-supported Cap Radio News. 90.9 Sacramento and 90.5 Tahoe Reno. It's 3:35.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from Capital One, offering their premium travel card VentureX. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. From Amazon Business, offering business buying services from office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools to help bring visions to life. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com. And from the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting research to improve the lives of young people at WTGrantFDN.org.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Scott Detrow in Washington.
And I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California. More than 1,400 people have fallen sick with measles in the U.S. this year. There have been numerous foodborne disease outbreaks and continuing controversy over the country's vaccine policies. All the while, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has been without a permanent director, though that might soon change as a key deadline draws near. NPR's Ping Wong joins us now to explain. Hi, Ping.
Hey, Elsa.
Okay, so it sounds like there's so much for the next CDC director to deal with. What is this key deadline that means the CDC will finally suddenly get a new boss?
Yeah, so this is related to a federal law called the Vacancies Act, which puts a limit on how long a Senate-confirmed position can be open. So far, the Trump administration has been filling the spot with one temp after another, but they're running out of time to nominate a new director. So tomorrow, it will be 210 days since the last CDC director, Susan Menarez, was fired back in August. And currently in that role is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. He's currently holding double duty as head of both the CDC and the National Institutes of Health. And the law says that if a new candidate is not named by tomorrow, Bhattacharya can't keep being in the acting director role. No one can. So the administration does say that they've been taking the search seriously and they're trying to wrap it up.
Okay, so time is up. And it seems like there's been a tough search for just the right candidate, yeah?
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, Chris Pomp, a senior advisor to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he told Stat News that he's been interviewing dozens of candidates for the role and that Kennedy himself is interviewing the finalists. Here is Klomp talking to Stat.
I want somebody with unassailably high moral integrity, who is deeply experienced and has deep expertise and is qualified to lead a staggeringly complicated and essential government agency. That's a tall order.
Now, the candidates might include Ernie Fletcher, who's the former Kentucky governor, and Joseph Moline, a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins. That's according to reporting by Bloomberg and the Washington Post. But HHS spokesperson Andrew Nixon declined to comment on the potential candidates.
Okay, but to be confirmed, this nominee needs not only to be aligned with Secretary Kennedy and President Trump, but also needs to get through the Senate, which has not been a smooth ride when it comes to the director of the CDC, right?
Yeah, that's true, Elsa. I mean, last year, Trump's first pick, Dr. Dave Weldon, could not get enough votes because some senators objected to his record of opposing vaccines. Now, Susan Menarez was confirmed last summer, but she was fired when she stood up against changes Kennedy wanted to make to vaccine policies. And there's another thing. The top CDC director role pays about $200,000 a year, which is a big pay cut for the types of people that the administration is looking to hire to lead an agency that's really struggling.
Say more. How are things at the CDC right now?
So things are a little better now than they were last year. Remember, last year they lost about a quarter of their staff. A shooter attacked their campus, and big cuts were proposed to their budget. But things are still not great. I mean, morale is very low, and people keep leaving. Some things are starting to go the CDC's way, according to the staffers that I talked with. Earlier this year, the budget got mostly restored by Congress, and last week, a federal judge blocked some vaccine changes that Kennedy had made, which many people at CDC had opposed. And so far, there have been good reviews for Jay Bhattacharya as acting director. Now, he started in this role last month, and so far he's allowed more telework, he's visited the staff in Atlanta, he's been approving contracts and conferences that have been in limbo for months, and he's holding an all-staff meeting tomorrow. Now, the CDC staff are relieved, but they told me that the bar is so low. They're just excited to do basic things like run programs again after a year of pretty severe dysfunction.
That is NPR's Ping Wong. Thank you, Ping.
You're welcome, Elsa.
The U.S. Treasury Department says the online scam industry costs ordinary Americans billions of dollars a year through bogus investment opportunities, romance scams, or other cons. And Southeast Asia has emerged as an active area for this industry. Michael Sullivan reports on efforts to fight scamming operations that emanate from the region.
In October, the Cambodia-based Chinese-born Chen Zhou was indicted by the U.S. government for wire fraud and money laundering. The U.S. also sanctioning more than 100 others in what it and the U.K. called the, quote, largest action ever targeting cyber criminal and fraud networks in Southeast Asia. The U.S. also seized roughly $15 billion in Bitcoin from Chen's Prince Holding Group.
Given that he had consolidated such deep ties with top Cambodian elites, Chendra's arrest is significant.
That's Jason Tower at the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. Along with the Bitcoin, the UK also seized several swanky properties in London. The US sought Chen's extradition, but Cambodia balked. Chen Zhe simply too well connected to, and his business entwined with many in the Cambodian elite, including Prime Minister Hun Sen. But in January, Cambodia abruptly gave him not the US. Chinese state television showed a hooded and handcuffed Chen on a flight from Cambodia to Beijing. China is Cambodia's main political patron, but its citizens too had been big-time victims of the scamming operations, and it's put its foot down. Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet recently said that online scams damage Cambodia's image and threaten national security. And the Interior Minister announced an April deadline for the scammers to be gone, prompting a government offensive. Cambodian TV recently showcased tape of a raid on a scam center in Kampot province, one of hundreds they say they've shut down in the past few weeks, with pictures showing workers fleeing as police arrive. Some of those fleeing were duped into working in the center, their passports seized, with some workers abused or even tortured. Now, many line up in front of embassies like Indonesia and the Cambodian capital Phnom Penh, trying to get home. Amnesty International calls the situation a humanitarian crisis.
What we're seeing in Cambodia right now is real disruption. You have compounds that are emptying, there are thousands of people leaving. You're even seeing some arrests.
Jacob Sims is a visiting fellow at Harvard's Asia Center, focusing on transnational crime in Southeast Asia.
But what this is not is reform. What's happening in Cambodia right now looks far, far less like the dismantling of the criminal economy and far more like elite risk management under serious international pressure.
Pressure from the US, UK, China, and South Korea includes sanctions. Pressure from international businesses reluctant to invest, given Cambodia's increasingly common nickname, Scambodia, forcing scam operators to adapt to keep the money flowing.
So you can shed some workforce, give some people up for arrest and move. You just have to be ready to do it. And a lot of them, I think, with sanctions and the pressure that's been building, have been set. They've been preparing for this day.
That's Jeremy Douglas at the UN Office of Drugs and Crime. Downsizing, he says, is one example. Discreetly operating out of housing compounds to avoid suspicion. Jason Tower agrees, and he says,
we're seeing increasingly a global spread of this activity, with some of the China-linked scam syndicates that have been operating in Southeast Asia, moving increasingly to places like Dubai, moving into Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. So you're seeing where they're continuing to try to exploit new geographies and become embedded in a wider and wider range of states around the world.
It's like a global game of whack-a-mole, and the mole is back. For NPR News, I'm Michael Sullivan in Chiang Rai, Thailand.
Teamwork!
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's 3:44 with Cap Radio News. I'm Devin Yamanaka. Sacramento's historic Oak Park neighborhood has been without a library for almost 4 decades, but a grassroots movement has been trying to bring one back for 10 years. Cap Radio's Riley Palmer is one of the neighborhood's newest residents and did some digging to find out where things stand.
When I moved to Oak Park 6 months ago, getting a library card was high on my to-do list. But the neighborhood doesn't have a library. The closest one to me was either across the freeway in Midtown or down Stockton Boulevard a ways. It was strange to me that Oak Park, one of the city's first neighborhoods, wouldn't have one. Though there hasn't been a library in almost 40 years, it's not for lack of trying. Educator Michelle Benjamin has been helping lead a campaign to get a library back in the neighborhood for a decade.
Having a library is not only essential, but it's critical and crucial because of the benefits it will give. I'm talking about test scores, but I'm thinking of just the value and importance of reading and the sense of community that comes from having a place like a library.
Benjamin grew up walking from her grandma's preschool on 33rd Street to the Oak Park Library on 5th Avenue. She remembers the smells of fresh bread coming from a nearby bakery as she walked past Nakachi Park.
I knew we were going to a fun place, and that's what they called it. We're going to go to a fun place,
The Oak Park Library was consolidated into the Colonial Heights Library in 1989. The city was looking to save money and sold the location to the McGeorge School of Law. The Colonial Heights Library is about a 35-minute walk from the center of Oak Park on Stockton Boulevard, one of Sacramento's most dangerous streets. Peter Coyle, CEO of Sacramento's Public Library, knows the challenge this creates.
They are served by other libraries, but the distance and the transportation to those libraries is in many cases a barrier.
The city of Sacramento is wise to the issue as well. Benjamin has collected 1,300 signatures in support of an Oak Park library and has been working with District 5 Council member Katie Maple. Maple says the last spot they envisioned for the library was the old Sacramento Observer building on Alhambra Boulevard, but that is now owned by a different nonprofit.
Now the search is on. We need another building, and so that, I mean, I'm just being really frank. That's where we're at. We do not have a location identified. We are open-minded. We want very much to find a good location for Oak Park.
Once they find a spot, Maple admits that the city's $66.2 million budget deficit will throw a wrench into the plan.
I know that people care a lot about this, and so do I. And hopefully the right partnership will present itself, and